Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're journeying thousands of years into the past, to the cradle of civilization itself, ancient Mesopotamia. We're going to explore the life and legacy of one of history's most influential rulers, a man whose name has echoed through the millennia: Hammurabi, the great lawgiver of Babylon. His story isn't just about conquering lands, it's about building a society, shaping justice, and leaving behind a legacy carved in stone that would influence legal systems for centuries to come. So, grab your virtual excavation tools, and let's dig into the world of Hammurabi. Our story begins around 1810 BCE in the city-state of Babylon. At this time, Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, was a patchwork of competing kingdoms and city-states. It was a volatile world, full of shifting alliances and constant warfare. Into this chaotic scene stepped a young Hammurabi, who ascended to the throne of Babylon in 1792 BCE. Initially, Babylon was a relatively minor power, overshadowed by powerful neighbors like Larsa, Ishnana, and Mari. For the first few decades of his reign, Hammurabi played the long game. He was a master diplomat, a patient strategist. He spent years building up his city, strengthening his army, and forging alliances, all while carefully observing the political landscape. He knew that to build a lasting empire, he couldn't just rely on brute force. He needed to be clever, biding his time for the perfect moment to strike. This period of quiet preparation was crucial. It allowed him to consolidate his power at home and build a solid foundation for the incredible expansion that was to come. He wasn't just a warrior king, he was a nation builder from the very beginning. Then, the political climate shifted. The powerful kingdom of Elam to the east invaded the Mesopotamian plain, shattering the existing balance of power. Hammurabi saw his opportunity. In a series of brilliant military campaigns, he turned on his former allies and rivals one by one. He didn't just fight battles, he executed a master plan. First, he defeated the Elamites. Then, he conquered Larsa, his main rival to the south, unifying the southern half of Mesopotamia. Next, he turned his attention north, conquering the powerful kingdom of Mari and the city of Ishnana. Within just a few years, Hammurabi had transformed his small kingdom into a sprawling empire that stretched across nearly all of Mesopotamia. He was no longer just the king of Babylon. He was the undisputed ruler of a vast territory, a true emperor. But Hammurabi's ambition went far beyond military conquest. He understood that controlling land was one thing, but truly governing it was another challenge entirely. This is where Hammurabi's true genius shines through. He realized that to hold his diverse and newly conquered empire together, he needed more than just soldiers and garrisons. He needed a unified system of justice, a common set of rules that would apply to everyone, from the highest noble to the lowliest farmer. His goal was to create order out of chaos, to establish what he called justice in the land, to destroy the wicked and the evil, so that the strong might not oppress the weak. This vision led to his most famous achievement, the Code of Hammurabi. It wasn't the first law code in history we know of earlier ones. Like the Code of Hammurabi, it was by far the most comprehensive and well-preserved.
Wow.
So what exactly is the Code of Hammurabi? Imagine a towering stone pillar, nearly 7.5 feet tall, made of black diorite. At the top, there's a detailed carving showing Hammurabi standing before Shamash, the Babylonian god of justice, who is handing him the symbols of law and authority. Below this powerful image, inscribed in intricate cuneiform script, are 282 laws. This pillar, known as a stele, was placed in a public square, likely in the temple of Marduk, the patron god of Babylon. This wasn't a hidden document for legal scholars. It was meant for everyone to see. It was a public declaration that the king's justice was divine, permanent, and accessible to all his subjects. The message was clear. This is the law, and it comes from the gods themselves. Let's dive into some of the laws themselves, because they give us an incredible glimpse into everyday life in Babylon. The code is famous for the principle of lex talionis, or the law of retaliation, which we know best as an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. For example, Law 196 states, "If a man put out the eye of another man, his eye shall be put out." Law 200 says, "If a man knock out the teeth of his equal, his teeth shall be knocked out." This seems harsh to us today. But at the time, It was a radical step towards limiting personal vengeance and ensuring that the punishment fit the crime. It replaced blood feuds with state-sanctioned justice. However, the code was far more nuanced than just an eye for an eye. A key feature was its class-based system of justice. The punishments varied depending on the social status of the victim and the perpetrator. The society was broadly divided into three classes: the Awilim, who were the upper class of nobles and property owners; the Mushkinim, a class of free commoners; and the Wardum, or slaves. If a nobleman injured a commoner, the penalty was often just a silver fine. For example, if a man put out the eye of a commoner, he would pay 1 mina of silver, not lose his own eye. If he injured a slave, the fine was even smaller. This shows us a society that was highly stratified, where your worth in the eyes of the law was directly tied to your social standing. The code also covered a huge range of civil matters. It had laws on everything from property rights and contracts to family law, inheritance, and even professional liability. There were regulations for merchants, setting prices for goods and services. There were rules about marriage, divorce, and adultery. For instance, a wife who was proven to have been unfaithful could be thrown into the river. The code also had laws protecting women and children in certain situations, outlining dowries and inheritance rights. It even dealt with what we would call professional malpractice. One of the most famous and chilling laws, Law 229, states that if a builder builds a house and it collapses and kills the owner, the builder shall be put to death. It kills the owner's son, the builder's son shall be put to death. This created a powerful incentive for quality workmanship and accountability. Beyond his laws, Hammurabi was an incredibly effective administrator. He personally oversaw a vast bureaucracy, managing everything from tax collection and irrigation projects to religious affairs. Surviving letters show him micromanaging his officials, sending detailed instructions on issues big and small. He would order the dredging of a canal in one letter and rule on a minor land dispute in another. He was a hands-on ruler who saw himself as the shepherd of his people, responsible for their well-being. He sponsored massive construction projects, building temples, defensive walls, and intricate canal systems that boosted agricultural productivity and made his kingdom prosperous. Under his rule, Babylon became the cultural and economic center of the ancient world. After a long and successful reign of 43 years, Hammurabi died in 1750 BCE, passing the empire to his son. While his dynasty didn't last forever, the Babylonian Empire eventually fell to invaders. His legacy was indestructible. The Code of Hammurabi was so influential that it was copied by scribes for over 1,000 years after his death. It became a foundational text for legal thought throughout the ancient Near East. The principles of written law, of public justice, and of the state having a monopoly on punishment were revolutionary ideas that echoed through later legal systems, from the laws of the Hebrews to the legal frameworks of Greece and Rome. Hammurabi's greatest achievement wasn't the empire he conquered with his sword, but the society he built with his laws. He proved that a kingdom held together by justice could be more powerful and enduring than one held together by fear alone. His famous stele, now proudly displayed in the Louvre Museum in Paris, stands as a timeless monument to one of history's first and greatest attempts to create a just and orderly society. So what can we take away from the story of Hammurabi? We see a brilliant leader who combined military might with shrewd diplomacy and a visionary sense of governance. We see the birth of a complex legal system that, while harsh and unequal by our standards, was a monumental step forward for its time. Hammurabi's code tells us a story of a society grappling with fundamental questions of justice, fairness, and social order, questions we are still debating today. His legacy reminds us that the quest for justice is one of the oldest and most enduring human endeavors. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back to ancient Babylon. What do you think is the most interesting or surprising part of Hammurabi's code? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip through history, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.